Hello, welcome back to Fire Horizons Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're going to continue on with Suzerain Rizia. So last time out, we pretty much just dealt with the fallout from the terrorist attack. So we, funded the intelligence service, try to dig into the bombings a little bit, see if we can figure out who did it, as well as distancing ourselves from Su Amina. And then, yeah, we're obviously also getting a visit from the Queen of Rumberg here, so let's go meet up with her. Vina, Estella, and I sat in Palais Resna's most ornate stateroom, awaiting the arrival of Queen Beatrice Livingston. An informal supper with my sister-in-law was scheduled for the evening, but for now, the protocol for an official diplomatic visit had to be observed. Pablo came in through the stateroom door. He took a deep breath. Announcing Her Majesty Beatrice Livingston, Queen of the Four Corners of Macopa, Defender of Casa Sabra, Conqueror of the Tranquil Sea, Stout Protector of the Ancient Lands of Rum, Descendant of the Most Honourable King Edward I and the Ruler of Rumberg. He stepped aside, and Queen Beatrice entered. She was wearing an emerald green gown that matched her tiara. Vina, Estella, and I rose to greet the Queen. Kissing her hand seems a little bit more polite, so we'll do that. I took my sister-in-law's hand and kissed it. She looked me up and down. What a pleasure it is to see you, Your Majesty. We barely had the chance to speak at your coronation. And my dear niece. She turned towards Vina. Why, you're looking more and more like your mother every day. I hope your father's proud of the lady you've become. She's as stubborn as her mother was, that's for sure. Ah, good girl, it's your royal obligation to give your father hell. Vina laughed. It's lovely to see you, Auntie. Beatrice embraced her tightly before moving on to my mother. The two women gave each other air kisses and stood back and eyed each other. Queen Beatrice? Queen Mother Estella? She tilted her face upwards and gave a short sniff. The palace looks as magnificent as always, but I fear a chat with your housekeeper may be in order. Every time I visit, it smells just the faintest bit like trash. Okay. My mother feigned a puzzled look. Is that so, Your Excellency? Oh, is that just a dig at her for being a common-born? Funny, I do seem to detect an unpleasant draft of hot air, by the time since you walked in. Yep. Let's be civil, ladies. We have important state issues to discuss. Then I shall take my leave. I have a terribly urgent appointment on the other side of the palace. By all means, Your Highness. Our chat is far more boring than the sort of carousing you're used to. Vina, why don't you run along as well? We'll catch up over supper. Vina reluctantly nodded. Shan't be. Have the staff give my room a ring when you're done. I'll see you two out. Just a moment. Pablo walked Beatrice and myself over to a pair of velvet armchairs. Next to them was a table upon which a towering silver Rumbergian tea urn had been set up. He filled 2 porcelain cups for us, then escorted Vina and my mother out the door. Beatrice motioned for her own attendants to wait outside. We settled into our seats. Queen Mother Estella may have a common upbringing, but she's part of the royal family. Please respect her as such. Whatever do you mean, my love? I find your mother ever so charming. I never believed those nasty rumors about her one bit. Queen Beatrice extended her little finger and raised her teacup to her lips. She smiled approvingly. Just like home, my compliments to your butler. Now, how are you faring a year into your reign? I know you're quite scared and zeal. I'm less scared by what happened than by the ramifications of it. That is the correct manner of thinking. Needless to say, Rumberg has been monitoring the fallout of the incident with great concern. Your concern is much appreciated. She nodded. Aside from my worries about your personal safety, I foresee a scenario where Valen uses this tragedy to its own gain. And Valen amassing more power is not in either of our interests, correct, Your Majesty? No, we've got to be very careful not to stir the pot further. And it's more important not to capitulate. Beatrice leaned forward and held my gaze. Of course we are the same age, Your Majesty, but I've worn my crown for many years longer than you have yours. And I and my country are far more experienced at dealing with the Republic of Valen and their backers in the CSP. Sending your own investigators to ferret out the bombing culprit is a good start. It shows President Smolak you are unwilling to play by his terms. But how do you plan to follow that up? What will you do if Mr. Smolak fails to relinquish his hold on Zia? We will exercise diplomacy until an agreement is reached. That sounds simply wonderful, Your Majesty, until you arrive at the bargaining table and realize your pockets are empty. To that end, Rumberg is prepared to provide assistance with the delicate situation in which you found yourself. Do go on, Queen Beatrice. Here's what I suggest, Your Majesty. As you may know, Rumberg is currently a major importer of basic oil. If we were to significantly reduce our imports, the financial pressure, and thus your leverage over Valen, would be considerable. Wait, how much oil are you importing from Valen? Enough to seriously make a dent in the country's economy while our purchase orders to diminish. But in fact, my advisors and I have been speaking about forging new energy partnerships. And as it happens, Rizia is about to come into possession of quite a bit of natural gas, correct? We don't know yet. Our scientists are still figuring out the details. I see. Very interesting. I was about to propose that Rumberg purchase Rizian energy in lieu of Vesic oil. We enrich your country and assist you with your Valen problem in one fell swoop. What kind of a timeline are you thinking about? We can cut off our orders of Vesic oil immediately, as long as you grant us a small amount of energy up front to add to our stockpile. We'd then give you a 1-year grace period to make the transition, after which, I warn you, our needs will be quite substantial. Would we have to replace all the oil you've been purchasing? What about only part of it? Rumberg would prefer to eliminate its energy dependence on Valen entirely. But of course we wouldn't want Rizzi to make any overly rash promises, so yes, a partial embargo on iron is possible. Interesting, but how would Rizzi gas even reach Rumberg from here? I'm quite sure some of the same ships that carry out our gold trade can be retrofitted to transport natural gas in its liquefied form. Of course, an immediate modernization of your monkey's port would be required to handle the excess shipping traffic. I mean, that can be arranged. Even if you don't ship us gas, getting that port into tip-top shape would make our gold trade more efficient. So you believe Valen can't find another customer? Believe it or not, Victor Smolak has managed to alienate Valen from most of its neighbors. I know our partners in Grace would surely follow suit and cut their own ties. Okay, I mean, this is a serious promise. What happens if I can't keep up my end of the guarantee? We'll have to find a more reliable trading partner for energy as well as other materials. And I will be most displeased. Okay, well, I think I have a good grasp on the particulars of the deal you're suggesting. And what do you think of the idea? I'm going to go with this one, just because I don't know what's going to happen just yet. I can't promise you anything right now, Your Excellency, but I'll keep your offer in mind as Rizia expands its energy horizons. Very well, Your Majesty. Of course, we'd appreciate any help stoking our hungry furnaces. Moving on to equally important matters. How are the Princess's marriage plans coming along? I wouldn't know. I told her I wouldn't be arranging her marriage. Did you? My word. We royals are an endangered breed, you know. We've got to tend to our lineages as we would a rose garden. Fear not, the garden of House Taurus shall remain in bloom for a long, long time. With the help of House Livingston, it shall bloom on only the richest of soil. And don't forget that the rest of Grace is invested in the Taurus line of succession as well. Rizia is one of its linchpin nations, after all. What about Grace? Do not discount the importance of our economic pact, Your Majesty. Our fellow monarchies want to see a stable Rizia, especially after the summit to which we all promised closer cooperation. Believe me, I want to see a stable Rizia as well. Rumba will do its best to aid you. She rose to leave. I shall see you at supper, Your Majesty. The Queen gave the door a swift knock. Her attendants opened it, bowing as they did so. She paused. Congratulations on your recent trade deal, by the way, although I wouldn't trust the swords any further than I could throw them. She walked out with her gown trailing behind her. Yeah, that's okay. I knew she wouldn't be happy with that trade deal, but... I mean, it was after the fact because I didn't even think about it, but that's okay. As soon as I saw that news article about the fact that I might not be, I was like, yeah, she's not going to be happy about that. But that's perfectly fine. Alright, let's see here. So we got at least a few articles here, so let's go and start with those, because nothing else amasses right there. So, from Zeal. Rizian investigators dispatched to Zeal. Under the authorization of the King and War and Security Counselor Lucida Azaro, a team of investigators has been dispatched to Zeal to uncover more information about the recent Friendship Day attack. Valen has been informed about the presence of Rizian intelligence and promises full cooperation with the investigation. Cool. From Monkeys, Swordish magnate Marcel Caronti checks in on resort construction progress. In Monkeys, acting Duke Hubertus Taurus welcomed Heart of Swordland Co. owner Marcel Caronti for a visit to the still under construction Caronti Resort volunteers. The business magnate expressed his approval of the resort's progress and his eager anticipation of its opening. And from Kalus, Swordish businessman Walter Tusk goes on holiday in Valancourt's wine country. The Contuavo Vineyards in Kalus welcomed Swordish oligarch Walter Tusk and his family, who spent a night at the winemaker's luxury villa before continuing on a short tour of Valancourt's wine country. Tusk confided that his newfound interest in the region was inspired by the recent availability of Rizian wine in Swordland. Cool, I guess? And from Fort Alles. Volgish Heritage Week allowed to proceed in Fort Alles. The Palais Administrative District was once more allowed to organize its annual Volgish Heritage Week, a festival celebrating the region's history as part of the Volgos Empire. Accompanied by controversy since the Rizian reconquest and resettlement of the district, it was especially contentious this year due to the events of the Friendship Day in Zeal, which sparked security concerns. However, the week seems to have proceeded peacefully, with only few clashes between local Rizians and those of Volgish Lazian heritage. Interesting, okay. Cool, we got one newspaper article from Geopolitico. CSP's investments in Nibia achieved poverty reduction milestone. The CSP's investment strategy in Nibia is bearing fruit, significantly alleviating poverty in a nation poised for a renaissance under the leadership of Atanur Ladaf. The democratically elected leader's bold promise to eradicate poverty within 8 years mirrors the CSP's commitment to economic development as a diplomatic tool. Amidst the simmering tensions of regional conflicts, the CSP's investment in Nibia is not only a humanitarian effort, but also a strategic endeavor to cultivate a reliable ally, ensuring stability and support in a critical geographical nexus. Interesting, okay. Let's see here. We've got 2 exclamation points. Let's see. We have a family visit to Isa. And send diplomatic envoy to improve relations. Alright, well, let's do that first. Let's see here. In a bid to strengthen international relations and fortify alliances, it's proposed to send a diplomatic envoy to a nation of our choice. Palais, Valen, Dirdia, or Morella. The success of this mission could lead to enhanced trade, cooperation, and mutual understanding. -1 authority and -1 budgets. Let's see. Honestly, I think Palais is probably going to be the best option right now, so we're going to do that one. Little expensive, but I'm going to go for it. Yep, then we have a report from down here. The Grand Duchy of Palais. Cedric Riefel arrives in Palais. Famed diplomat Cedric Riefel has arrived in Palais to lead our country's diplomatic mission to Palais. During his stay, he'll visit various political and economic leaders, as well as tour the country in an effort to improve relations. Coolio. And I guess we're going to a family visit in Isa instead of having dinner with the Queen? I don't know. Whatever. After months of promises and schedule conflicts, Vina and I were finally on our way to visit my cousin Rico Torres at his palace in Isa. The city's main road was straight and impossibly wide, a relic of Markian times when the city was a major trading center. I waved out the car window to the crowds of citizens lining the road. Up ahead, the domed library of the university brought back memories. First of my happy student years there, then the horrifying way they'd ended. I noticed most people who come out to see us were native Rizian, even on the streets of the city's visit quarter, Little Rocklevitz. We passed a street cleaner who was rapidly trying to scrub graffiti off the side of a building. I could just make out the remnants. They read, "House Taurus will fall." Vina didn't seem to notice. She looked lost in thought. Hugo's meeting us here too, right? Why do you think they wanted us here so badly? The invitation coming so soon after the Zeal incident is no coincidence. I can't even remember the last time Cousin Rico and I properly spoke. When we were children, maybe? We rode on until we reached Palace Cezanne. Under Rico's stewardship, a formidable-looking iron gate had been constructed around the otherwise tranquil palace complex. His security led us through to the Duke's residence, a blindingly white building with the flags of Rizia and House Taurus hanging from every window. We walked up to the doors. As soon as the guards opened them, a pair of long-nosed Rizian hunting dogs raced toward us, barking. Easy there, puppies. Alright, I like this one. Bella, Bruno, sit. Both dogs promptly sat at attention, still as statues. I heard the sound of boots on tiles as my cousin Rico approached. He was wearing an olive-green tweed jacket and a flat cap. He gave me a quick bow of acknowledgement, then knelt and kissed Vina's hand. I was struck by his transformation from a gawky, insecure teen to a broad-shouldered, preternaturally confident young man. Welcome, my cousins. It has been far too long. So it has, Rico. You're looking sporty. Did Father not tell you we're going hunting? Wait, what? Hugo appeared from behind his son, a sheepish look on his face. Your first hunt is king. I wanted it to be a surprise. I appreciate it, but I was hoping the four of us could have a serious conversation. We'll have plenty of chances for that. 9/10 of this sport is waiting, after all. Not when you have this. He turned around and showed us the K-74 semi-automatic rifle strapped to his back. Hugo turned up his nose disapprovingly. No kidding, that's not a hunting rifle. Isn't that cheating? Balls are speedy bastards. You'd be surprised, Your Highness. He smiled rakishly at my daughter. We have outfits prepared for the two of you, and your choice of weapons, of course. And it'll be a good old-fashioned rifle for me. Who uses an assault rifle for hunting? Hugo smirked at his son. You see, boy, there are still real gentlemen in this world. I do wish I'd known about these plans. I've never so much as held a gun before. Come now, I'll teach you. It'll be great fun. Inside, Vina and I quickly refreshed ourselves and changed into a hunting garb that had been laid out for us. We stepped out to find 2 waiting jeeps. I'll ride with Duke Rico. I have much to discuss with him. Rico nodded, and Aid held the door open and we hopped into the first car. East of the palace, the landscape quickly turned hilly and green. We entered the Brainus Forest Estate, a private hunting ground reserved for nobility only. I turned away from the window to see Rico looking at me intently. You must already know what I'm about to say, Your Majesty. I knew you didn't approve of the company I keep here in Isa, but to accuse us, them, of terrorism? Let's go with that one. Valen has every reason to suspect Sue Omni is involved in what happened, as do I. Trust me, nobody I know has a clue who's behind the Zeal attack. A light smirk formed on his face. Though I can't say I wasn't happy to see those Vasics get what was coming to them. Let's go with that one. So, you want me to believe your organization is completely innocent? In Valen, yes. Smolak's accusations are based on nothing, just his own vendetta against us. But if you want this mess cleared up in time for Zeal to be returned, I think I can help you. In exchange for what? Aside from getting your golden guard off Sue Omni's tail, nothing. I wouldn't dare to bargain with my cousin and my king. He cleared his throat. The people in my organization are loyal to me, Your Highness. Your Majesty. Very loyal. If 1 or 2 of them were to confess to the attacks, a splinter cell acting independently of both Sue Omni and the Crown, it'd solve both of our problems. So you're offering to commit a crime on my behalf? I'm not offering anything, just pointing out how convenient it would be should such a confession occur. I appreciate the gesture, but I can't condone this. Understood, Your Majesty. He winked. That's not code, Rico. Come forth with false suspects and I'll have your head. Oh. Never mind, then. Rico looked away for a moment. The woods around us were growing denser. If there's anything else you'd like to bring up with your king, now is the time. Rico eagerly turned back towards me. I'm sure you've been kept abreast of the situation here, Your Majesty. The drugs, the violence, the open resistance against our government. You're not a child, Rico. Pull yourself together and become the leader the city needs. I'm trying, but I can't do it without reinforcements. I have heard that in times of emergency, police from Rizian Central Forces can be placed under individual leaders' direct command. I have petitioned your War and Security Council for just such transfer, but she refused. Rightly so. You should be cooperating with the greater province of Brainus. You mean with the Saisons? He snorted. They can't be counted on to cooperate. If anything, they're actively plotting against us. I'll send you the petition when we're both back home. I trust you to do what's best for our city. We pulled off the road and continued some distance on a dirt path that wound through the pines. We came to a halt at the mouth of a grassy clearing with gently sloping sides. Hunting blinds lined its perimeter. It vaguely resembled a gigantic serving vessel. At last, enough politics talk. We disembarked and Rico eagerly unlatched the back door of our jeep. Bella and Bruno hopped out and started sniffing the air. Caught the scent already, my dears. Must be dozens of boars out there. The other car pulled up next to us. Hugo and Vina got out, still in conversation. So, Your Highness, knowing how to aim and fire a gun correctly is as useful a royal skill as knowing how to hold a salad fork. With the essential difference that lettuce doesn't bleed when you pierce it. Hugo chuckled politely. He waved his son over. I've bored you enough, Your Highness. I believe Rico is going to show you the ropes. I'd be delighted to, if the king permits. He extended his hand to my daughter. Let's see. That doesn't seem like she wants to hang out with him, so I'll go with this one. Actually, I was hoping I could escort my daughter on her first hunt. Hugo smoothly stepped between us. Why not let the youngsters have their fun? Old men like us would slow them down. You're damn right about that, father. Shall we, Vina? He beckoned to Vina again. She hesitantly followed him over to the nearest hunting blind. Hugo shrugged. The two of us it is, Your Majesty. An assistant handed me my rifle, a Rizia made to Torpor 56. It was more awkward hold than I expected. My son may aim for quantity, but men like us know quality is key. He locked and loaded his own Torpor rifle. Its stock had a gold embossed bow on it. We climbed up into the hunting blind opposite of Vina and Rico's position. And now we play the waiting game. There's a long stretch of silence, punctuated only by the chirping of birds and the occasional bark of Bella and Bruno in the distance. I may not like Rico's hunting methods, but his dogs are second to none. They'll drive the bulls out in no time. Well, why were you so keen that he and Vina go off together? He calmly adjusted his rifle's sight. If my son and your daughter are to be married, they ought to spend time together first. That's an awfully bold assumption. Or have you seriously never considered the possibility? It's up to Vina to choose her own husband, and I doubt her cousin ranks high on the list of candidates. Her cousin once removed. Not sure that's much better. As you know, there are interests both inside and outside this country who seek to snatch Rizia away from our stores. Co-sanguinity wouldn't be my first choice either, but it's the only way to keep our family in power. The right alliances can make us more powerful than blood alone. And the wrong ones would doom us to history's dustbin. As your uncle and advisor, this is my advice. You may follow or disregard it as you choose. Just then, we heard a rustling sound coming from the woods. Bella and Bruno had found their quarry. A group of boars raced into the clearing, the dogs nipping at their heels. Working in tandem, they forced the prey into the lowest part of the glade. Looking through my gun sight, I fixed my crosshairs on the group. Let's go ahead and shoot it. I took aim and pulled the trigger. It didn't make a difference anyway. I struggled to keep the gun steady as it fired. The shot went wide and the boars scattered in all directions. I've been too long, has it? Allow me. In one swift motion, he aimed and fired his rifle. The largest of the boars fell to the ground. As we turned away to reload, I heard a series of rapid-fire bangs coming from Rico's direction. I looked back out of the blind to see the ground littered with dead boars. Not very sporting, if you ask me. By the end of the hunt, I had 0 kills. Hugo had 6, and Rico had racked up a dozen. He and my daughter were deep in conversation as they climbed down from their blind. Liza this, Liza that. I'm telling you, if the Valiant Civil War happened while Grandmother was still in power, she wouldn't have set out the welcome mat. No, Liza would have honored Rizia and Valen's long history of cooperation, shown compassion for those who suffered. You naive little girl. Everyone in Mokopa wants what we Rizians have. The Vasics saw a chance to get it, and they jumped on it. He flung his gun on the ground in frustration. That's a super safe move. I'm afraid your daughter didn't shoot a damn thing on today's hunt, Your Majesty. She's too busy distracting me with her nonsense opinions. Well, let's attempt to be polite. You've done well enough for all 4 of us. Congratulations. He seemed to collect himself for a moment and then smirked. Thank you. I wish I could say the same to you. Rico and Hugo posed for photographs next to the boards they killed. The assistants began packing everything away. Not really sure cheating and or just hunting for sport's a good thing, but that's okay. We'll eat well tonight. The chef at Palais is on. Does an excellent braised bowl with wine sauce. Rico, Vina, why don't you ride ahead and notify the kitchen staff? His Majesty and I will be right behind you. Vina gave me a pleading look. Why don't you go with your son, Hugo? I'll accompany the princess. Hugo raised an eyebrow. As you wish. Come along, Rico. Vina silently thanked me as Rico and Hugo departed. We climbed into the second jeep and headed back to the palace. Dinner that night was indeed delicious. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's see here. We got at least one report here. Let's take a look. From Portrazon. Rizia Imperi Businesswomen's Association highlights gender pay gap. A new report released by the Rizia Imperi Businesswomen's Association reveals that despite the great strides our kingdom has made for women's rights, inequality persists in the job market. Men still earn significantly more than women, a gap that the REBA report suggests can be surmounted with the help of government intervention. It is tempting, but I don't have the means to do so at the moment. But let's see, we also have one more newspaper article here from Geopolitico. United Cantana's SSS monitors Geopolitico's Kiao office. Kiao? I don't know. In a move that has sent ripples throughout international journalism circles, the State Security Service of United Cantana has commenced surveillance on Geopolitico's Kiao office. The scrutiny, publicly announced by Assistant Secretary Sokezintli Iotake. Oh, I remember this guy's name from the main game, because I couldn't pronounce it then either. Betrays fractures within the Cantana government, with the decision by Chairman Millenniev drawing fire for its implications on press freedom. This act of state oversight signals an ominous trend in United Cantana's treatment of the press, raising alarm bells about media liberties and transparency within the nation. Indeed. Alright, let's see here. So we have a royal visit to the Scarlet Kingbird Festival. Interesting. Or the Isa police transfer. Now let's just go ahead and do that. So, Duke Rico Torres of Isa has requested the transfer of additional police forces to his direct control to crack down on the recent upswing in crime. These reinforcements would be drawn from the federally controlled Central Police headquartered in Rizia Imperi. I mean, honestly, that just sounds like he just wants to crack down on migrants more, so I'm going to deny the police transfer. Fantastic. Alright. And while this Scarlet Kingbird Festival thing sounds pretty interesting, I feel like that's as good of a place as any to go and call it for today. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you all next time.